Did anyone ever tell you that turning 80 could feel less like crossing a finish line and more like entering a quiet storm? Not because life suddenly loses its beauty, but because it begins whispering truths that no one really prepares you for. Today's video reveals 5 harsh and unexpected realities most people face after turning 80. These aren't the things you read in medical brochures or hear during your yearly checkups. They're deeper, quieter changes, emotional shifts, social invisibility, and the subtle way your world begins to shrink piece by piece. You might recognize some of these changes already, feelings you've brushed aside or noticed in passing, but never put into words. Others may take you by surprise, but all of them shape how we experience aging. And once we name them, something powerful happens. We stop feeling alone. We start to reclaim control. So stay with me. Because while these truths can be tough to face, they also carry the power to bring peace, purpose, and a quiet kind of strength that only wisdom and time can offer. Let's begin. 1. The shrinking world of social connection. One of the first things that begins to change after 80 so quietly you may not notice it at first is your social world. It doesn't disappear all at once. It simply thins out. The phone rings less often. Fewer visitors knock on the door. Invitations slow down, not because people don't care, but because life moves on. And somehow it moves on without you. Maybe your closest friends have moved away, fallen ill, or passed on. Family members are busy, swept up in their own demanding schedules. And while you may still enjoy moments of connection, they become more infrequent, less predictable. The long, comfortable conversations you once had now feel like rare gifts. There's no bitterness in this. It's just the truth. Even if you've always enjoyed solitude, the silence now feels heavier, more echoing. A day without a familiar voice can feel like a week. And even if you don't say it out loud, you begin to feel something most people don't talk about, that you're slowly becoming an observer of the life you once participated in so fully. You may find yourself reminiscing more, not out of sorrow, but to keep memories close. You replay laughter in your mind, recall the feeling of holding a grandchild's hand, or the comforting rhythm of daily routines shared with someone who's no longer there. And that's not weakness. It's not loneliness in the way people often think. It's adjustment. It's what happens when the crowd thins and your heart still wants connection. It's why having just one or two deep, meaningful relationships becomes more vital than ever before. Because when the noise fades, it's those few voices that help you stay grounded in who you are. 2. How small health issues turn into big ones. Another truth that sneaks up after 80. Your body doesn't bounce back like it used to. A cold that used to last 2 days now lingers for 2 weeks. A bruise from bumping the kitchen counter takes forever to fade. A skipped meal or restless night can throw your whole system into chaos. It's not just about aging, it's about resilience. That quiet built-in ability your body once had to reset is no longer automatic. Now every minor issue feels bigger. A sore knee becomes a weeks-long limp. A small fall becomes a trip to the hospital. And suddenly you find yourself navigating a new landscape where recovery is slower and the consequences of simple missteps are greater. It can be frustrating, especially if you have always been active, strong, the type of person who just pushed through. Now, pushing through doesn't always work. Now your body asks you to listen, to adjust, and that can feel like a betrayal. But here's the quiet truth. Noticing these shifts doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're becoming wiser. Awareness is power. When you start noticing what your body needs, more rest, better hydration, gentle movement instead of overexertion, you give yourself the best chance at staying strong longer. The bravest thing you can do right now might be the simplest. Give yourself permission to rest, recover fully, and adapt with grace. Because aging isn't about proving how tough you still are. It's about learning to protect the strength you still have. If this resonates with you, type number 2 in the comments, so I know you're still here with me. And if you haven't already subscribed to stay connected, we're building a space for honest conversations like this. 3. The quiet loss of visibility. Here's a truth no one prepares you for. After 80, you may start to feel invisible. Not because people are cruel, but because the world seems to stop noticing. You walk into a room and the conversation doesn't pause. You speak and someone cuts in, not out of rudeness, but because they assume you were finished. You share a thought and it's brushed aside or ignored altogether. Even your family, the ones who love you most, can start treating your words like background noise. It's not personal, it's cultural. We live in a world that worships speed, novelty, youth. And when you've lived through more decades than some people have been alive, your presence becomes quiet. Your age walks into the room before your voice does, and that can feel deeply disorienting. But here's the truth, your voice still matters. Your stories, your humor, your experience, they carry a weight that youth simply can't replicate. You've survived things most people can't imagine. You've loved, lost, endured, adapted. That matters. So speak anyway. Speak especially when it feels like no one is listening, because the world needs your perspective, even if it doesn't always realize it. You are not invisible. You are not done. The people who truly see you, who stop, lean in, and listen, they're out there. And when they do hear you, really hear you, you remind them what real presence looks like. So don't fade quietly. Stay visible. Your light still shines. Shire, the narrowing of daily life. One of the more sobering changes after 80 isn't what's happening inside your body, it's what slowly fades outside of it. The routines that once gave your day structure, morning coffee with a friend, weekend, and errands, small conversations at the post office, begin to slip away. Not in one big loss, but little by little. Suddenly your days feel more like a repeating loop than a lived experience. Trips become shorter, errands are outsourced, friends are harder to reach. And even though your mind may still crave novelty and variety, your daily life starts to look smaller. The walls of your home, once filled with movement and sound, now hold more stillness than ever before. This shift can feel like confinement, but it can also invite a quiet kind of reflection, a chance to rediscover the richness in small things, the warmth of sunlight through the window, the rhythm of a familiar song, the taste of your favorite breakfast. Still, it's okay to mourn what's gone. It's okay to feel that shrinking of the world around you. What matters is finding purpose within the new limits and remembering that meaning doesn't vanish just because your calendar is emptier. Sometimes the deepest purpose comes in stillness. There are still more powerful truths to come. Stay with me through the next sections. You won't want to miss what we talk about next. If this video has touched something in you, an unspoken truth, a quiet memory, let me know in the comments. Let's not keep these conversations locked inside, because the more we talk about them, the less alone we feel. As we touched on earlier, life after 80 brings with it a quiet transformation where the world doesn't vanish overnight, but seems to slowly pull away. This next part of the journey captures that fading outline, not through loss alone, but through subtle shifts in your everyday rhythm. The narrowing of daily life, places begin to feel smaller, not all at once, but gradually, as if your world is gently folding inward. You may notice you're going out less frequently. Not because you've lost curiosity or desire, but because things now feel just a little farther away, a little more draining, a little harder to reach or manage than before. You might pause before an outing thinking, is it worth the effort today? Not because you don't care, but because the energy it demands weighs heavier than it used to. Friends who once stopped by without notice may have moved to be closer to family. Others might be unwell or no longer here. Neighbors come and go, often without goodbye. Even your favorite coffee shop or quiet park bench may have closed or changed, just one more familiar corner of your world quietly disappearing. The truth is, your world doesn't fall apart dramatically. It simply shrinks, softly, silently. At first, the emotional toll feels faint, like background noise, a light hum of quiet moments. But over time, the silence becomes thicker. It fills the space once occupied by conversation, laughter, errands, routines. Even for those who have always valued independence, this change can feel unsettling. There's something deeply human about missing the familiar, even when you've never needed much company to feel content. Yet naming this feeling matters, because what you're experiencing isn't weakness, it's grief. A subtle, dignified grief that grows not from despair, but from care. You cared about those places, about those people, about the rhythm of the life you once knew. And here's something else that's true, something many forget. Just because your old world is shrinking doesn't mean your life is. Growth can still happen, and sometimes that growth takes on a new shape. It might not be through travel or big adventures. It might be through deeper conversations with an old friend, through opening up to a younger family member, or through sharing a memory you've held quietly for years and finally finding the right moment to pass it on. Life doesn't have to be wide to be rich. It only needs to remain meaningful. So make that phone call even if it's long distance. Join that online group even if it's only a screen and a few voices. Step outside for a short walk even if it's just to the end of the street. These moments may seem small, but they're not. They're proof that your story continues, just written on a slightly smaller page. Your world might look different now, but it's not over. It's evolving. And even in this new shape, there is still room, plenty of room for laughter, for connection, for peace, and for joy. If this part of the message speaks to you, please comment the number 4 below to let me know you're still here, still listening, still moving forward. And if you haven't already, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support helps us continue creating heartfelt content like this for you and for others walking the same path. Now let's keep going.